Outside a Korean country town, wedded couple Jae-gu and Sun Youthful run a side-of-the-road carport. However, tragically they don't have numerous clients. As a matter of fact, most drivers don't for even a moment notice their little shop. This implies they're scarcely making enough to get by. And this makes Sun Youthful's relationship with her family tenser than it previously was. They never supported Jae-gu due to his low status and his sterile seed, and since Sun Youthful needs to help the family by making dolls only for a couple of pennies, just makes them disdain him more. To exacerbate the situation, a significant development organization is working close by, meaning they assume control over the streets with their trucks and block the carport from expected clients. One morning, a baffled Jae-gu goes to the building site to attempt to ask the chief and his better half Yi for remuneration. However, after he coincidentally finds their youngster, he's viewed as an insane individual and removed by security. Jae-gu winds up in the police headquarters, where they are accustomed to seeing him brought over for every one of the scenes he's continuously causing, and an official reminds Jae-gu this is what he gets for not having any desire to join the neighborhood shop affiliation on the grounds that their individuals got pay. Another cop advises him regarding a few bits of gossip in regards to his father by marriage. He's the proprietor of the shop Jae-gu's leasing for his business, and the elderly person is considering selling. Coming back, Jae-gu sees a man with a wrecked truck and learns he's going to scrap it. So he brings up that isn't required at this point. By simply changing the valve, it can run for a couple of additional years. At the point when Jae-gu shows up at his home, he inquires as to whether the reports are valid, and she admits her father has been disappointed in light of the fact that they haven't been settling charges. Jae-gu lashes out on the grounds that she's been keeping this from him, and before the contention can raise, he goes out to clear his head. The thought is to get a few lager and cigarettes at the neighborhood supermarket. Yet he can't bear both, consequently he winds up just purchasing cigarettes, changing to the least expensive brand too. Anyway, the old woman in control recollects Jae-gu from the time he took her granddaughter to school and is much obliged. She gifts him a lager can in any case. While partaking in his lager and cigarettes outside the store, Jae-gu is moved toward by the top of the shop affiliation Mr. Mun and his men, who beat Jae-gu up for the exhortation he had given to the man with the truck. It turns out Mr. Mun had nearly placed his hands on those pieces, for inexpensively Jae-gu hindered his business. Some other time when Mr. Mun is let his companions know what occurred over supper, the gathering begins chattering about Sun Youthful's terrible marriage decision, and Mr. Mun leaves seeming a bit piqued on the grounds that he actually harbors affections for her. A couple of days after the fact, Sun Youthful goes to a family assembling alone and is quickly gone after by her family members for her life decisions. Jae-gu appears too, having acquired some decent garments and, surprisingly, set aside a cash for a cake to dazzle everybody. Except when he shows up and hears everybody offending him, he chooses to leave without declaring himself. Coming back, he incidentally drops the cake, and he's so disappointed by the entire circumstance that he kicks it with outrage as opposed to getting it for supper. At that point, Jae-gu notification a vehicle halting in the street due to a punctured tire. So obviously he promptly offers his administrations to transform it, as he makes sense of the development trucks that pass by drop a wide range of scraps. Since it's late around evening time and they're in no place, Jae-gu takes the risk to charge extra for the gig, realizing the client must choose between limited options. Subsequently, he returns to the street to keep an eye on anything more that may have tumbled from the trucks with perfect timing to see Sun Youthful show up in a relative's vehicle. The driver doesn't actually express hey to Jae-gu, and when he whines, it sets off a contention with Sun Youthful, who is burnt out on being gotten between her family and her better half. To quiet her down, Jae-gu shows her he brought in some cash this evening. At the point when they hit the sack, Jae-gu can't rest since he's actually irritated by the present occasions, so he chooses now is the right time to follow through with something, and gets back to the street to disperse a lot of pieces out of control. The arrangement takes care of, and the following morning they have another client with a punctured tire. However, this time Jae-gu charges a more sensible. Hours pass and Jae-gu concerns in light of the fact that just a single additional client stopped by, so he goes to mind the pieces and thinks that they are completely gone. It turns out the development trucks have been driving the pieces away when they drive by, and in view of the size and weight of their tires, they didn't get level. Not prepared to surrender yet, Jae-gu keeps awake until late, making new more sharp pieces that he disperses out and about once more, and this time he's found by Sun Youthful, who dislikes the thought these pieces could cause a mishap or get Jae-gu captured, However, he adjusts his perspective when he calls attention to every one individuals that drive through this street are rich sightseers that are continuously escaping inconvenience through payoffs, significance nothing bad can be said about defrauding them. As a last touch on his contention, Jae-gu likewise makes reference to needing to set aside cash to purchase the shop from his father by marriage. Sun Youthful's underlying wariness gradually softens as days pass, and she sees the cash this thought gets, at long last, permitting them to purchase better food. One morning, Yi-Rai's vehicle is the most recent survivor of a punctured tire, and keeping in mind that Jae-gu takes care of his business, Sun Youthful offers her a beverage and discussion to keep her cheerful in paying. Anyway, Yi-Rai is amazingly stooping towards them due to their societal position, and when she hears Sun Youthful just makes 5 pennies for each 10 dolls, she gets one for 10 bucks out of pity. Feeling offended at the reality she's being dealt with like a foundation case, Sun Youthful at long last goes full scale and assists Jae-gu with arguing for why he wants to charge Yi-Rai such a lot of cash only for a tire substitution. From that point on, she's more steady of her better half's arrangement, bringing him drinks while he makes scraps and in any event, conceding she couldn't want anything more than to have cash to dress like Yi-Rai. Late around evening time, Sun Youthful additionally starts going with Jae-gu to the street to hold the spotlight while he drops the pieces and presents a few suggestions to improve the arrangement, such as adhering nails to the ground as opposed to returning consistently to supplant the pieces. One night, they're found by a cop that considers what they're doing out and about at this hour, yet they figure out how to rapidly get him away from them by bringing up he's involving the squad car for individual matters in light of the reality he isn't wearing his uniform and there's a young lady with him. The following morning, the couple has no clients since they're disappearing for a couple of days after their experience with the police. In any case, since Sun Youthful's accepted her installment for the dolls, they choose to treat themselves with it. Jae-gu goes to the supermarket for lager and to clear his obligation, taking the risk to give the youngster a ride on his bike to celebrate, and Sun Youthful does her hair in the salon without precedent for years. The reality the couple is improving monetarily now before long arrives at Mr. Mun's ears, who starts getting dubious. At the point when dusks, Jae-gu and Sun Youthful revisitation of the street with a drill and stick their most memorable nail in the asphalt. The new arrangement works, and soon Jae-gu tells Sun Youthful she can purchase however many dresses as she needs, yet he will not be spending much since he needs to focus on purchasing the shop. In the interim, Yi-Rai finds her child has been abducted. At the point when the police get some information about anybody that might have resentment against her, she runs over the doll she purchased from Sun Youthful and blames the couple for being con artists. The police boss doesn't think he has sufficient proof to capture them, yet things take a fast turn when one of the officials shares the reality he saw the couple acting dubiously out and about an evening or two ago. In only a couple of hours, the police find Jae-gu and capture him, however not Sun Youthful, since they've caught wind of him making a scene on the building site and knocking against a kid, making him the great suspect. While Jae-gu is questioned at the station, the police search the shop and Sun Youthful's father must be there as the proprietor. Rather than being useful and steady of his girl, however, he continues offending Jae-gu and telling Sun Youthful that she's planted. By the day's end, there's not a single proof in sight anyplace, and Jae-gu is delivered without charges. The police boss drives him home as a conciliatory sentiment, however, while at first he shows a comprehension of his circumstance, soon he's advising Jae-gu to go to bat for himself and to quit bringing his men inconvenience. Next morning, Jae-gu prepares his devices to return to the street since they've been losing cash while he was away. Sun Youthful stresses over her significant other and the chance of being found out, however she can't persuade him to have some time off. Meanwhile, Mr. Mun is as yet persuaded that Jae-gu is concealing something, and since the police can do nothing without confirmation, he concurs with his sibling the cop to alternate watching out for the carport couple. The following time Sun Youthful goes to the street to put a nail in it, Mr. Mun sees her and finds the nail after she's gone, so presently he needs to consider a method for involving this data in support of himself. Once more, now that the nails are out, business gets again and the carport couple can stand to eat out, so they make it a point to themselves. One evening, a 2 or 3 gets a punctured tire en route to the clinic and asks Jae-gu for a markdown, yet he actually charges them the maximum. That very day, Sun Youthful goes to the supermarket and is drawn nearer by Mr. Mun, who admits he is familiar with the nails and requests that Sun Youthful come to see him in private, assuming she believes him should keep quiet. At the point when dusks, neither of them can't rest. Jae-gu feels regretful about cheating the old couple since now he continues to ponder his own dead guardians, and Sun Youthful is stressed over what Mr. Mun might do. Professing to pose a logical inquiry, Sun Youthful considers what they ought to do in the event that somebody at any point learned about their trick, and Jae-gu answers he would stop before that individual went to the police. The next day, Sun Youthful contemplates how much this plan has worked on their lives and takes the hardest choice in her life. She goes to see Mr. Mun and acknowledges to get going with him in the rearward sitting arrangement of his vehicle to purchase his quiet. Subsequently, Mr. Mun advises his sibling to drop the reconnaissance on the carport couple. Paying for Mr. Mun's coercion leaves Sun Youthful inclination unquestionably grimy, so when she runs over a few lifelong companions that welcome her to come shopping with them, she acknowledges to take her brain off things. When she gets back, it's staggeringly late, however she's seeming to be an entirely different individual with her new haircut and many charming dresses. Jae-gu gripes about the absence of custom-made supper, yet Sun Youthful overlooks him and scrubs down, utilizing a perilous dissolvable in light of the fact that there isn't sufficient cash in that frame of mind to cause her to feel clean once more. It isn't until Jae-gu falls asleep that Sun Youthful permits herself to weep hysterically. A couple of days after the fact, a vehicle crashes in the rice paddy close to the carport. Realizing the police will be there soon, Jae-gu races to the street to take out the nails and notification a man emerging from the vehicle. When this man sees he isn't the only one, he takes off as though he was at fault for something, so Jae-gu really looks at the vehicle and finds the hijacked youngster. In only several hours, journalists race to the shop to meet with Jae-gu, who is viewed as a legend now, and, surprisingly, the lead representative drops by to praise him. Sun Youthful's dad shows up as well, unexpectedly professing to have consistently cherished his child in regulation just to get an opportunity to get to know the lead representative. The salvage of the kid makes Jae-gu a weighty money reward that he uses to at long last purchase the shop, in spite of the fact that Sun Youthful denies at first, since her father is charging them extra deliberately. Jae-gu knows about this and gets it in any case, since he appreciates being aloof forceful toward his father by marriage while they sign the papers, disgracing him before the entire family for defrauding his own little girl. The couple likewise purchases a decent vehicle, yet their spending doesn't stop there. Now that the town sees them as dependable legends, they put nails out and about once more, and the business keeps on sprouting. They get an electric sign for the shop, extravagant garments for the two of them, and even visit costly eateries, where they talk about the chance of one day moving to the huge city. This additionally implies Jae-gu is getting a large portion of the vehicle fix business and leaving Mr. Mun with less clients, which makes him call Sun Youthful to do really coercing, however Sun Youthful overlooks his calls. From that point on, a strange vehicle starts following Jae-gu once more. One evening, Jae-gu is visiting the area partaking in a brew at his typical spot when he unexpectedly hears some upheaval and follows a cop to the emergency clinic where he learns his nails have caused a mishap and presently a driver is harmed. While Jae-gu attempts to manage his culpability outside the clinic, Mr. Mun tracks down him and advises him to disappear before he lets everybody know that this is his shortcoming. Frightened, Jae-gu gets in his vehicle to return home and cries when he recalls Sun Youthful's evidently non-serious inquiry, and that implies she's constantly had some significant awareness of Mr. Mun. Discussing Sun Youthful, she's in the street adding more nails, making Jae-gu at last have a breakdown and drag her home, where he attempts to find the cash she's been saving to copy it off. Crying, Sun Youthful attempts to stop him and must use the option to admit how she needed to keep Mr. Mun calm. Since what it's done will be finished, Sun Youthful would prefer to partake in the cash as opposed to leaving her penance alone to no end. Overpowered with responsibility and agony, Jae-gu hurries to the street to remove the nails, however they've gone about their business competently, and they're difficult to move, also the sheer measure of them. The following morning, while Sun Youthful keeps on partaking in her new dresses and makeup, Jae-gu gets a truck to drive it not too far off, trusting its weight will twist the nails unequivocally.